everyone. Welcome to this travel talk about planning for and budgeting for a cruise. Now, if you remember from this Instagram poll that I did about a week ago, a lot of you made it very clear via that poll and the DMs that you sent me that you wanted to know how to plan for a cruise, how to budget for a cruise, and you wanted to really try to understand what is it that makes cruising so affordable, or what makes it the best value for your money in terms of traveling internationally. So I want to hop right into it because I feel like there's a lot of information and I don't want this video to go too long. So we're just going to hop right into it and start talking about planning. So we're going to talk about planning. We're going to talk about budgeting, and then I'll share a little with you about this cruise I'm doing next week and how I planned and budgeted for it. So, are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? All right, let's go. Okay, so when it comes to planning, I'm basically going to break it down into like 3 steps that I think kind of cover all the bases in terms of ensuring that you're going to get a great vacation for a great price. And step number 1 of planning for your cruise is doing your research, okay? So the first place you probably want to start is Cruise Critic. Cruise Critic is basically like the Bible of cruising, basically. So they have reviews of every single cruise ship in operation in the world. I'm not kidding. It's pretty amazing. They have photos. They have boards where you can talk to people. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So just for the sake of simplicity and time, let's just say that maybe you've done a little bit of research at this point and you know that the ship you want to sail on is the Vision of the Seas by Royal Caribbean. And I'm picking this ship because it's one of my favorites, BT dubs. I've sailed it once and I loved it. Okay, so Vision of the Seas, here you go. It's been reviewed by 1,100 other passengers, people who have already traveled on this ship, right? And out of 1,100 people, they give it 3.5 stars out of 5. And an actual travel editor rated it as well. And actually, they gave it the same score, a 3.5 out of 5. So you'll see that there's photos of it. There's a breakdown of, how many people have reviewed it, the different cabin types, the starting price for trips on this ship, pros, cons, bottom line, right? So if you were going to sail the Vision of the Seas, well, you're thinking about sailing it. Look, right here already on this page on Cruise Critic, it's telling you the pros of this ship are the crew works hard to bring the fun. It's a smaller size ship, which means it's easier to navigate. And I agree completely with that. They say the cons are the cabins are showing their age a little bit. There are fewer options for food. And the entertainment, fewer options for food and entertainment than in larger ships. I would agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah, my room may have been a little older, but it wasn't bad. Like putting new curtains or new carpet or like a different piece of art on the wall wouldn't have made my trip any better or worse. But people be bougie. Anyway, and it tells you there's crew 742. This ship was launched in 98. There are 12 decks. It holds about 2,500 passengers, right? It tells you all this information. You keep scrolling. It tells you what to expect with your fellow passengers. Oh, sorry, that was a big scroll. Tells you the dress code, if there is one. Talks about gratuities. Talks about any awards that this ship has won. And this ship did win the Cruise Critic Cruiser's Choice Award for best service. And I can say this ship is some of the best service I have ever received at sea across brands. And I've sailed on 3 different brands. And I'm telling you, Vision of the Seas, I cannot say enough good things, especially if you've never cruised before. This is a great ship to start on. Their crew is freaking awesome. Sorry, let me hide this. I forgot. Okay, so again, you could read all 1,100 reviews if you want, right? And then they specifically talk about dining activities, and they have photos of the ship. So this is super helpful, okay? So do your research. Cruise Critic is probably the first place you want to start. However, YouTube is just chock full of people who will give tours of the ship, right? So maybe I'm going to mute this. right? Here's someone who did a ship tour of Vision of the Seas, which means they're going to show you the entire ship, okay? So I'm just going to click through this because I obviously like, okay, for example, this section right here is the atrium. So you get to see what the atrium of this ship looks like. Pretty cool, right? Maybe you want to know, I'm trying to find the pool deck if they did it on here. Maybe you want to know what the pool deck is like, okay? So go to the part of the video where there's the pool deck. Hello? If you were like, ooh, I don't like that. That looks too small. That looks too big. The pool's not big enough. I don't like this. I don't like that. Look, now you know. And you didn't have to spend money to go on the ship to find out you don't like it. So, yes, do your research. You'll be very, very happy you did. And of course, if you haven't already done this, just go to the brand's website, okay, and look at what they have for that ship. I switched myself so you can see more of the website. So if you've gone to, Cruise Critic, you've looked on YouTube, and you still feel like you want to do more research, I mean, go directly to the source, okay? So here I am on Royal's website. They give you an overview of Vision of the Seas, okay? And they even tell you, hey, here's some last minute sailings on this ship if you're really interested. They give you a deck plan. This is super helpful because if you really want to sail on a ship and you're trying to figure out what room type you would want or where you would want to be on the ship, I mean, you can just look, right? Let's just pick a deck. I don't know. So deck 9 is the pool deck. So now you get to see, oh, cool. The fitness center is there. This, by the way, what I love about this ship is the solarium is 18 and over only. And there's a bar in there. Yes, honey. And it's covered. So rain or shine, you can be in there getting your little hot tub on and everything. So I love this ship though. I just can't say enough good things. And then of course there's a movie screen. Royal Caribbean is known for their MUTs, which is movies under the stars. When I sailed on Vision, I don't remember I just remember the first day the MUTs was freaking frozen. So then I went to the solarium where it was adults only and there was no child's movie playing and it was glorious. So anywho, that was a tangent, sorry. But right, this is a ship layout. You know what? Accidentally, I forgot something that I wanted to share, which was part of doing your research means figuring out what brand is for you. Not every cruise line is created equal. Okay, so I opened these tabs for you so that you could get a better idea of the different types of brands. And listen, you want to know a really simple way to figure out if a cruise brand is for you, look at their homepage. So here we are on Norwegian, my love. Okay, do you see children? Do you see playgrounds and a kiddie pool? Do you see families or do you see adults and couples? And entertainment geared towards adults and accommodations geared towards adults, right? I think you have to get all the way to the bottom to see any pictures with children in them, right? Royal Caribbean, same thing. Let's go to their homepage. Okay, Royal Caribbean's homepage. Do you see children? Oh, there we go, right? So maybe more family oriented, which it is, right? Cool. MSC Cruises. I see a romantic couple. I see an adult. Holland America. I see some older, right? Empty nesters. I don't see families or children. I see older adult couples. Cool. Okay. Disney Cruise Line. Let's see their homepage. Oh, shocker. Their homepage is full of children and families. I wonder why that is, right? These cruise companies are going to advertise to their target audience. So if you are single, if you are, don't have children, if you are a young professional, not that you couldn't sail Disney if you didn't want to. I've heard great things about them, right? But clearly you're not their target, right? Everything that they're going to do on their sailings ain't for you, boo. Whereas if you were on Celebrity, if you're on Royal, if you're on Norwegian or something like that, then, you know, while it's still family friendly, you know that there are going to be things for you as an adult. Okay, so tip number 2 for planning a cruise vacation is to pick an itinerary that is going to give you the best bang for your buck. Now, I'll just give a disclaimer. Itineraries are super subjective, right? Like, some people really like having sea days. I don't. I'm like, I did not pay all this money to just be sitting at a resort. You know, if I wanted to sit at a resort, why am I on a cruise ship? I could have gone and sat at a resort anywhere, right? But this cruise is supposed to be taking me to these cool exotic locations each day. So, you know, I don't really necessarily want to be at sea for days and days and days. So here sort of how I break down good versus bad itineraries, okay? So good itineraries have mostly port days, okay? So if it's a 5-day cruise, you should not have more than 2 sea days, right? If it's a 7-day cruise, you really shouldn't have more than 2 either. 3, okay, maybe if you're going super far out, you know, into like the Southern Caribbean or something like that. But you really shouldn't have that many sea days, okay? Also, a good itinerary has very few tender days, okay? Tenders are smaller ferry boats that take passengers from the cruise ship to land if it's a port where maybe there's a coral reef that can't be disturbed and the ship can't come all the way in. Or maybe the shore is too shallow, so the cruise ship really can't come all the way to land. The tender will take you from the ship to land. However, if there's inclement weather, if the water is way too choppy for whatever reason, or the winds are really high, they will suspend tender boats for your safety, which is great. But the bad part is you lose a port day. So try to pick an itinerary that doesn't really have more than 1 tender day, if any, at all. Next thing, a good itinerary has a stop at the cruise line's private island. Some people hate this. Some people feel like it's a wasted day and they don't get off the ship and they have a bad attitude about it. But here's the thing. A stop at the private island, it's like on the one hand, oftentimes it's a tender. So that kind of, again, hopefully it's your only tender on the cruise. But the really, really high positive is that it's the cruise line's island. So you're not really coming out of pocket for anything, right? When you go to the cruise line's private island, all the food, eat whatever you want. You already paid for it, right? You don't have to pay for a beach chair because you're a member, you're on the cruise, right? If you want to like get water equipment or do an excursion or whatever, of course you're going to come out of pocket. But when I'm on a cruise and I go to the private island, I love it because I know I am going to get all the food I could ever want and I don't have to pay for any of it. I have a beach chair, and because you know sometimes when you go to these islands, they'll charge you, oh, it's $5 for a chair, $3 for an umbrella, or it's $10 for a chair all day, $5 for a chair for half day, and that nonsense. So when you're at the cruise line's private island, you ain't got to pay for anything. Like, hello? So that's great. And then the last thing is a good itinerary has you on the island for 8 hours or more. So some cruise itineraries, you'll see maybe the ship pulls into dock in Key West at 7:30 a.m. and then it leaves at 2:30. Okay, every passenger has to be back on the boat 1 hour prior to departure. So that means you're really in Key West from 7:30 to 1:30. And let's be real, by the time you get off, wake up, take your hungover behind to the buffet and have breakfast and get off the ship, it's maybe 9:30. So you've got from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. in a destination. That is whack. Don't do that. You need to pick an itinerary where you're going to be in port from at least 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yeah. Now, bad itineraries, not bad cruises. Bad itineraries have mostly sea days. So maybe it's a 7-day sailing and you have 4 sea days. No. It's a no from me. Okay. They have short time on land. Like I said, you're only on land for like 4 hours. No. Bad itineraries also have lots of tenders, right? So maybe you go to the ship's private island. Okay, well that's a tender, and then you're gonna go to some other small Caribbean island where you have to tender, and then the next day is another small Caribbean island where you have to tender. No, because what if there's a storm? What if there are high winds? You have the possibility of going from having 3 port days to 0 because they're all tender. So just really pay attention to that. And if you're wondering, well, how the heck do I know if it's a dock port or a tender port? Cruise Critic. Last, but certainly not least, is planning tip number 3. And listen, I saved the best for last, okay? This is what y'all really want to know, is booking. Tips for booking your cruise. So, the best ways to book a cruise. Listen, if you don't listen to anything else I say in this whole flipping video, the best ways to book a cruise are, number 1, book it last minute. Cruise ships want to be full every time that they sail. If they are not full, and the embarkation day is coming closer, they are going to do every single thing in their power to fill that ship, including dropping the price of the rooms by like 60, 70, 80%. My first cruise I ever took, I booked it 2 weeks before it left, and it was a 3 or 4 dayer to the Bahamas, and I paid $189. Okay? So trust me when I tell you, one of the 2 best ways to book a cruise is last minute. So here, I'm going to go ahead and make my little bubble smaller. Okay, so now you can see more of the screen. This is Royal Caribbean, okay? Now, I cruise Norwegian a lot, but I just feel like I talk about Norwegian a lot, and I don't want you to think that there aren't other good brands out there, because there are, and Royal Caribbean is one of them, okay? So I just am on Royal just cause, but we could do this with any cruise line, okay? So look at this. I said I want to search cruises going to the Caribbean or Cuba, sailing from Fort Lauderdale or Miami or Port Canaveral, leaving next month, like in 2 or 3 weeks, right? And these are the results I got. A 5-night Western Caribbean cruise for $239. Wait, now I'm kind of salty because I'm like, I wish I could do that. I wish I didn't have a cruise next week because I would totally do that. Dang, these are cheap. Sorry, you just caught me having a moment. Okay, so look, booking last minute, December 3rd, $239 per person. This is based on 2 people. If you were going to go by yourself, you would double that. Okay? So if it's like $240 a person for 2 people, you know I'm not good at math, so give me a minute. So it'd be like just under $500 if you wanted to do this sailing by yourself, okay? In an inside cabin. Because whenever they show you the lowest price, it's always an inside cabin, okay? I'm trying to find you something that I would actually recommend you doing. 5-day Key West Havana holiday cruise. Holiday means it sails close to or actually over Christmas. So you've got Fort Lauderdale, Sea Day, Key West, Cuba, Fort Lauderdale. I would do that. Yes. See how there's only 1 Sea Day? Now, I say I would do it, but then again, you'd need to click on it and you need to look at how long are you in Key West, how long are you in Havana, right? But booking last minute has definite perks, okay? Now, the second tip for booking is book your cruise on a cruise, okay? And we'll get into why right now. Okay, so here we have my Norwegian Cruise Line reservation confirmation for my sailing that's coming up on the 18th of November, okay? So I'm just gonna scroll right on down. This is what I paid, okay? Now, if you're like freaking out that it was a $1,300 cruise, I want to let you know something right now. It's a $1,300 cruise fare because I'm cruising by myself. If I had booked this cruise with another person, I probably would have paid somewhere between, depending on when and how I booked it, right? If I booked it last minute or if I booked it on another cruise or whatever, I probably would have only paid between $5.99 and maybe $6.99 for my cruise fare. But I travel alone most of the time. I go by myself, which is fine. But just know, part of going solo means on a cruise that your fare is significantly more. But the good thing about Norwegian, though, is that they give you a studio room, which is the room I have. So it's like a cool little room made for just one person. And then they have a studio lounge, which is a private key access area only for solo cruisers. So anyways, 1,300 is probably normal if you're going to go by yourself. If you're thinking about cruising solo, I highly recommend it. It just takes planning. Speaking of planning, I'll stop blathering on and let's get to it. So if you look at, I booked this. If you look, it says I booked this on December 28th, 2017. You want to know where I was December 18th, 2017? I was cruising on the Norwegian Jade. I booked this on a cruise. And here's why. I got two really good, I don't know, maybe incentives. I don't know what to call them. Two bonuses, two benefits, whatever, for booking while on a cruise. And here they are. The first one, see this? Paid by Cruise Next for Monica Payne, $250. Because I booked this on a cruise, Norwegian Cruise Lines gave me a $250 credit. Hello. I don't even feel like I need to explain why that's awesome. Do I really need to explain why this is awesome? And so if you're wondering, well, what's Cruise Next? Cruise Next is just Norwegian Cruise Lines' name for their consultants who help you plan your next cruise while you're sailing. So if you ever sail with Norwegian, you can go to the atrium and find the Cruise Next office where there are multiple Cruise Next consultants who will give you a brochure that has like every sailing for that cruise line for the next, I think like year and a half or something like that. And they'll give you a whole list of options of like bonuses you can choose from because you're booking it on the cruise. So at that time, December of 17, I got a $250 coupon because I booked it on a cruise. And I got a free specialty dining package. So you'll see right here, it says 1x3 meal specialty dining package. That means when I go on this sailing on November 18th, I get to go to 3 different or the same, whatever. I get to have dinner 3 times at a specialty restaurant. Specialty restaurants are on every cruise ship and they are not included. They are extra, okay? They're usually like a la carte. You're going to come out of pocket, okay? And so if you're a foodie, if you like good food, I'm like, meal packages are just the bomb.com. So you'll see, I booked this in December. My deposit was due by February, but again, Norwegian took care of that by giving me that $250 credit. So I had until July 21st to pay off this cruise. So you'll see, I made monthly installments, guys. At no point did the most I ever paid at one time was $446. And that was because in May and June, I was like planning to move and I was just like, I bought a car, right? There's like a lot, life happened, honestly. And so I made the decision to just wait. And then I was just going to pay the remaining balance in July. But I mean, 110, 199, 148. Hello. Like if you book on a cruise and give yourself 10 to 12 months, it's not that big of a financial strain. Like I know that it's easy to get sticker shock and be like, holy, she paid $1,300. But listen, I didn't just drop $1,300 at one time, right? And then this $25 was, I bought travel insurance. I decided to buy traveler's insurance through Norwegian, which was $25. Anyways, that $12 is because I'm going to a Cirque du Soleil dinner show. Okay. And then looking at my actual sailing, okay, this is a 7-dayer. And look, I followed my own rules. How many sea days does this 7-dayer have? 2. I said a 7-dayer should have no more than how many sea days? 2. And that's what mine has. Okay. I said any cruise you do really shouldn't have more than 1 tender day. Now look on here. How many tender days do I have? 1. Right? I said a good itinerary has you in port at the very least from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Right? Now look at this. 8 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 5. Now, the reason I didn't mind having a 7 to 2 is because I already knew when I booked this, I might not even get off the ship that day. I was just recently in in Mexico, and honestly, I'm just going to use that day as a day to get off the ship really quickly, buy some souvenirs in the tourist trappy area, maybe get a margarita, and then get back on the ship and have a spa day. This is my cruise that I'm going on in about a week or so. And look at me. I follow my own advice, right? I was following my own advice. So hopefully this has been helpful, okay? And like I said, it's really, really, really important to book a cruise on a cruise. I can't stress to you enough how cool it was to know that I got a $250 coupon and I get to have 3 free dinners at kind of expensive restaurants just for booking my cruise on a cruise. It's pretty great. Okay, friends. Well, that is it for this portion of this travel talk. I'm going to break this up into 2 videos because it's a lot of information and I don't want you to have to sit here and watch some like 45-minute video, okay? So thanks for watching. Of course, if you haven't already, please like my Facebook group, Girl Go Solo. Follow me on Instagram at wander_woman11. And stay tuned for the next installment of a travel talk, which is just a continuation of this, where I talk about the other important parts of planning a cruise, aka budgeting.